Sometimes a game and its players tell you how it wants to be played. There are these desire paths. This is this concept. A desire path is like a concept you'll see sometimes in like picture a street where they really should have built a sidewalk and they didn't, and you see a kind of dirt strip along the side of the road because people are walking there. It's where they desire to walk. You'll see this in nature. You'll see this in parks where they didn't build good paths. You'll see these desire paths sort of naturally emerge from what people really want to do, and you can see it visually, and it's kind of funny. People talk about this a lot in UX when people have products that people use in a particular way that is different from what the architects of the application actually intended. I think this is really interesting, and I'm trying to be a bit more disciplined and intentional about paying attention to these things in games. So I'll go into a little bit of story time about this game, Pecking Order, which we've been developing for like 5 years now. And it is a game that means a lot to me. And we're actually about to playtest it just next week. So if you'd like to jump into our Discord. We're going to be trying this new version about it that I'm talking about today. So some quick story time. Oh, I just bumped my mic. Quick story time about Pecking Order. I've talked about it before on here, but the super basics of it are each round you get to upvote and downvote somebody else in the game. Upvoting them makes them go up in the scoreboard. Downvoting somebody else makes them go down in the scoreboard. Your goal is just to be at the top of the scoreboard at the end of 8 rounds. We play it over the course of a week. You could play it a lot faster than that. You could play it in 40 minutes if you want. We like to stretch it out over a week because it makes the drama go a little crazy. Okay, so we had these problems as we developed this game. It has all these kind of like twists and turns and other things that rewards you for knowing how other people are going to vote. It's very interesting. It's a social game. It's, in some sense a popularity contest, but you are also massively rewarded for just like knowing what people are going to do, reading the room, manipulating the vote, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we had a couple problems that we always sort of reared their heads in these playtests. One of them was that oftentimes people were not that engaged at the end of the game, people who didn't have a good chance to win. It's a hard game to win, right? We would often play with like 12 people. There's only one winner. To win the game, you really need to like somehow remain well liked while also manipulating the vote, and that can be a very difficult thing to do. Many people played the game like dozens of times and never won, and so you often get this thing where at the end of this like week of playing this game, or now it's like 4 or 5 days, some people were just totally checked out. Some people like life stuff came up, or they needed to leave, or they forgot about it, or they just didn't think they had a good chance to win, and so they would check out. And when you get to the end of the game and people would check out, it's not really, it's kind of a letdown. It feels bad, right? And from the jump, we never wanted to have eliminations in the game, right? So part of why we made this in the first place was because we're really interested in the game Survivor. We were all watching Survivor during COVID and wanted to make something that was like that. But we agreed kind of early on, this was like a hard principle for us, is that we didn't want to eliminate players from the game. I think it feels really bad. I just played recently the Survivor card game and I kind of hated it. And they had eliminations and it like feels so bad. My wife was the first one who got eliminated and it was just like, ugh, this is ugly. And we didn't like it. And it's also just like when you get to the end of a game of Monopoly and there's only 2 people who even care about the outcome anymore, it's kind of a letdown. It's like a deflating way to end a game. So eliminations were off the table. And we tried to solve this in various ways, but the problem that we would run into is like, if you try to make the game more interesting towards the end, oftentimes what you do is you make it so that everyone still has a chance to win in the end. And if everyone has a chance to win in the final round, that kind of negates or like trivializes everything that came before it. Like, why were we playing hard for 4 days before this if anyone could win in the final round? We ran into a lot of problems there trying to solve that, and we kind of like tied ourselves up in knots. And then there's this other related problem, which I always called the kingmaker problem. So if you get towards the end of the game and you don't believe that you could win, a natural thing that you might want to do is just make your friend win. Like, I want Fred to win. And so I'm just going to like give all my upvotes to him. I'm just going to like downvote Mike because he was mean to me earlier. And we're just going to make Fred win. And even though Mary has played a great game, Fred's going to win because he has more friends than Mary. And we just have a new kingmaker problem, right? this was a really, really tough one to solve because to me, this always felt sort of frustrating. This was this desire path, this way that people wanted to play the game, and it was always there. And for years, I tried to basically fight City Hall about this. I tried to kind of tie myself up in knots, making people not play the way that they wanted to play. Pecking order wants king making. And I remember Chris Thornton even telling me this, and other people, Emmett, I know others who played the game a lot would say this to make this case to me that they're like, this is what the game is. It's like it's a game about king making. And I couldn't get it through my head, and I wanted to solve it in all these other ways. So we would like limit back when the game was more complicated and there was more of this kind of stuff. Like there were ways that you could like benefit other players or give them resources. I would like limit how much you could do that. I introduced this whole new crazy thing, this game mode that you can still play in the social game right now, with what we called blood oaths, where you get to pair with another player. And so it increased your chances of winning. It's like at the end of the game, you win or lose as a pair. As a pair, you're a secret pair. No one knows that you're a pair. It actually made the game super interesting. I love it. I think it was actually really cool. But it was the whole purpose of it was to basically make it so more people are engaged towards the end, and you get to like officially play with a partner, so you're less isolated. And it was really cool. But again, we were not able to solve this issue of king making. And I've kind of come around on this idea that these ideas of like quitting the game, resigning the game with grace, being able to leave the game if you get busy, being able to leave the game if you find that you are not, you don't have a good chance to win, and making that interesting for people was a desire path. And another was the desire to king make somebody or to nuke somebody at the end of the game. And so we rebuilt this over a year ago for a conference, for a Laracon conference. And that was kind of one of the first things we took away because we wanted to make a super simplified version of pecking order for this conference. And the big, big change that we made, other than just stripping out most of the complexity, was that we added this thing that said, by the way, at any time you can resign. And when you resign from the game, you get to give all your points to somebody. And so if you're at like plus 10, that's pretty good. It's not good enough to win the game, but you could give your buddy plus 10. And similarly, if you were sitting, at -5, you could really damage someone's score by giving them your -5 at the end. This made the game way more interesting. And it basically meant that like the moment when you say, I think I'm done playing, you get to do something super impactful as you walk out the door and effectively eliminate yourself on your own terms. You get to do something explosive and big and exciting. And of course, what this did was it made the game way more interesting because now the game is a game about king making. And so obviously it makes it makes your exit from the game exciting and not deflating. It also makes the final round of the game super exciting because even if you can't win, you get to have a huge impact on the outcome of the game. But also that naturally affects the early game alliances, right? Because we had all these people doing these like smart things, like it'd be 10 people who gathered together and said, let's all upvote the same person over and over and over, and then we'll downvote each other. And so at the end of the game, we have this one person who's up at the top of the scoreboard, and we have all these other people who get to resign and hit different rivals with like -10. And so that was a really, really powerful thing that totally reshaped the kind of flow of the game in the early alliances. So by listening to the desire paths, at first my reaction was, no, you can't do that. We don't do king making. We don't do eliminations. We don't want people to quit. We want everyone to be engaged for the whole game, and we want nobody to ever king make. And I tried to basically fight what the game was trying to do, what the players were telling me, hey, I'm trying to do this. I want to be able to do this. And in my head, I said, no, I'm the architect of this thing. I don't want you to do it. And, by doing that, I did come up with some ideas that I like. Other people came up with really cool ideas that I liked a lot. The game evolved. We packed a lot of interesting ideas in there. But ultimately, I think the thing that solved it the most was to basically allow for king making, allow for resignations. And it made the game a lot deeper and a lot more interesting. So we're playtesting it next week again, and I'm introducing that resignation thing into the main game. And so we're going to play pecking order in our Discord server and try it with this resignation thing and see how it plays with a smaller group. Maybe it'll be awesome. Maybe it'll be terrible. Maybe the new desire paths will make themselves clear, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Jump in and play with us if you want.